And I sort of feel like, oh God, just give us time to make it better, and we can show and prove that it is a wonderful industry. And we always need to now encourage people that maybe have left this industry because they weren't happy in it to come back and give it another try, because I do think that things are changing and there is so much joy, and yeah, it's like, God, just give us a chance.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Burnt Chef Journal, hosted by myself, Chris Hall, the founder of the Burnt Chef Project. This week's guest is Roberta Hall, who joins us from Scotland to talk about her career within hospitality that she's had to date, working for the likes of people like Tom Kitchin at the Kitchen, and then to work at the Castle Terrace with Dominic Jack. Roberta's been in the industry and working for some quite high-profile individuals. She has a very interesting insight into what currently works for hospitality and what doesn't work for hospitality, but a progressive outlook on how we can work together to be able to improve the industry as a whole. I'm sure a lot of you will resonate with the things that Roberta is saying in this, and if anyone is affected by any of the issues discussed, then please do use the Burnt Chef support service in the UK. You can text Burnt Chef to 85258 free of charge, completely confidential, 24/7. If you are in other countries, please do check out our website where there's a whole host of free resources and free contact numbers for where you are as well. Without further ado, let's just crack on with this week's episode.
On the surface, we at Lamb Weston are a leading global frozen potato product provider, but hospitality is in our roots. We are helping to chip away the stigma of mental health in the industry and truly believe in well-being through potatoes, which is why we are in full support of the Burnt Chef Project. If you want to find out more about how we provide well-being through the humble potato, or try a free sample of our award-winning products, such as our proper British chips, the Dukes, follow us on Instagram at Lamb Weston UK.
So without further ado then, Roberta, would you mind just explaining to the listeners who may not have heard about you or heard of you, just exactly who you are and how you found yourself working in hospitality?
Yeah, sure. Hi. My name is Roberta Hall. I started in hospitality when I was 16. I was in my second last year at school, and we had to do a week's work experience anywhere that we wanted to, sort of an area of occupation that we wanted to choose. And I wasn't really sure exactly what I wanted to do. And I remember having a conversation with my parents, and they said, well, you love food, like, you're cooking all the time at home. It's your biggest interest in school. When there are crossovers in school, I think, why don't you write to a restaurant and see if they'd be happy to have you in their kitchen? So I wrote to numerous restaurants in Edinburgh, and only one got back. But yeah, no, like, great. But it was an amazing restaurant that did get back to me, and so I went away and I did a week, 5 days there, and I just fell in love. It was a no-brainer, I think, after that. I just loved the buzz, the kind of the hustle and bustle, the atmosphere, just working with food, and every day it was definitely a passion. And I remember coming back to school, and I think I was the only person who was had the best experience and was the most buzzing and was just ready to get going in that industry. And I actually worked for my last 2 years of school. I worked there part-time, and then when I finished school, I then went full-time with that restaurant as well, so for about a year, just under a year.
That's amazing.
So really great sort of first experience from quite a young age as well. So yeah, it was really good.
So, I mean, obviously you did this as a work experience ultimately, first and foremost, but like, what was always your plans growing up? Did you want to become a vet or something different, or was it always hospitality focused?
Yeah, do you know what? No one's ever asked me that question. Like, oh, did you ever have any other interests from a young age? And I don't know if I ever had any of the crazy ones where, I want to be an astronaut or I want to be, I don't think I had any of that, or the more normal ones. Did I? I think I was unsure. I think I really was unsure for a long time. And then I think that experience really set it for me. And I I've never thought about anything else, and I haven't looked back. And I've had friends that have never really pinned down the exact, work that they wanted to go into. And, even to this day, they still kind of bounced around a wee bit. And I always felt, not that it's not a bad thing, but I always felt really, what's the word? Felt really, just really happy and really sort of, sorry, I'm really struggling for this word. Really.
You found your place.
Yes, thank you. Sorry. Just really, really, lucky. I'm really lucky that I'd worked out what I wanted to do. Because I would see them struggling, trying out like this and that, and I just sort of, I was just felt really, really, really lucky. So, I don't look back. Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You say that it was the buzz and the adrenaline of being in that environment that sort of that got you, that captivated you at that early age. I mean, what specifically about the buzz was it? Was it the fact that it was hard work and it was like in an environment that was quite strictly regimented, or was it the fact that you were just in a I don't know. I'm intrigued. I'm always interested because I think, to work in hospitality, they always say, and we'll come on to mental health and well-being, but they always say, like, do you have to have a mental health issue to work in hospitality in the first place? Because do you like this kind of pressure?
No, there's definitely perhaps an element of that. I think I do. I like a high sort of pressure scenario, and I like a busy, I do like a busy sort of situation. And I think it was just getting to work with food every day. That was the thing. That's the main thing that really, and just being able to take something, an ingredient, add a few more ingredients, and then and create something fantastic. That's what I love about food, and that was very key from the start for me. And I do enjoy the sort of the craziness that comes along with it as well. But it definitely has its highs and lows.
100%, and we'll delve a little bit more into that as we go along. But so your career then took you to? Did you go straight on to Tom Kitchin's place after that?
No, not at all. So I did a year full time at that restaurant, and it was quite a lot to go from just being in school to suddenly working a little bit, but then working 60 hours a week. Even though that's not even like a sort of patch on some of the areas that I have done in weeks. It was a lot for me then. And so I then decided to go to college for a couple of years, and I went through to Glasgow. And I was working part-time and going to college. And often people have asked me, did you ever regret going to college, or did you find, is it worth it? Was it a waste of time? And I'm torn in some ways, because I think I've definitely gone into some jobs where I've definitely learned more in a much more kind of packed environment, because you're literally just doing sort of the same things, or you're doing a lot more of the same things in a day. And so it definitely, you learn quicker, whereas college is a bit more slow paced, and you'll do one thing and then the next day you'll do something different, and then you might not do that dish ever again. But I have conversations now where I'll say, oh, I remember doing this in college. You very much got a really good core basic sort of skill training back in college. And I do think that it is important. I think that it would be nice if the colleges in this country, perhaps, if they were just a bit more, there was more emphasis put on them. And if the training that gets done is a bit more up to date, a bit more sort of in line with what we're actually doing in kitchens these days. And I really wish that the attitude was a bit more serious, because there was a handful of people in my course that took it seriously, and the rest of them were there because they had to go and do something, kind of thing. And I don't think it's respected in the same way that it is respected in other countries, like Germany and France. They take it, to do culinary training is very serious, and it's really recognized as a great profession. I think we're getting there in this country, but I think we've got a long way to go. But no, I did. I mean, I don't have any regrets about going to college. I kind of wanted to be a student as well. I think it's really, really core part of growing up, just having that time to be a bit of a child, you know, away from home as well. And I would encourage any young person to just have that moment in their life, because it molds you. So it's really, really important. But it was great. I enjoyed it. I love being in Glasgow. Glasgow's a great city. But whilst I was working there, I worked in a restaurant, a tiny restaurant. And my head chef there used to be, you know, most of all the jobs that I've had have all been through word of mouth. You know, they've led me on to different places. I've had very few knock on the door kind of job interviews. And he used to work down in Northumberland at a hotel where Albert Roux used to do dinners. And he did them sort of like once or twice a year. And he said, I want to take you down and we'll go down and do one of the Roux dinners that they're doing. So the pair of us went down, and whilst I was down there, obviously I got to cook with Albert Roux, which was an incredible experience. But they also offered me a job, and which I took, obviously, because it was a great hotel. And I was there for just under a year. And I enjoyed it, but I found it quite tricky because it was in the middle of nowhere and I didn't have a car and I was very isolated. And it was also, I guess, that kind of, you know, when you live in somewhere and there's lots of staff living in, it is a little bit crazy, a bit party, a little bit too much alcohol, and not as much focus on the food as of what I would have wanted. And so, I stayed for just under a year, and then I actually came back up to Edinburgh to another hotel, another really good hotel, but kind of got thrown into banqueting, and then was working in the brasserie, and just nothing was quite feeling right. I wasn't loving what I was doing on a day-to-day, and an opportunity came up to go out and work in Dubai. At the Burj Al Arab, the famous 7-star hotel, which seemed like a really, really good opportunity to kind of pass up. And I definitely needed something a bit more exciting, a bit more, I wasn't really getting the buzz that I'd had that first, you know, from that first experience of working in a kitchen. And so I jumped at it, and I think about 4 weeks later, I was in Dubai.
Wow, that quickly?
Yeah, a bit scary. Yeah, it was a really quick turnaround. And I remember making the decision so quickly, and then I had to fly down from, I think, Edinburgh down to London. And my parents have been, you know, because I think I was about 20 when I did this, and they were quite apprehensive, but worried, but also have very much backed up everything that I've done. But I think I was running really late for the flight going from Edinburgh down to London. So said bye to them, and then raced on that, and then got down to Heathrow, and I had 4 hours to wait in Heathrow, I think, before I flew out to Dubai. And I had this moment of, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, you know, I just made this decision so quickly, and I hadn't really, I had thought about it, but it really jumped into it. And I had a bit of a mini meltdown in the airport where I phoned my auntie, I think, but she was very reassuring and said, go over, have an amazing time. It's going to be such a different experience. And, you know, you'll never get this opportunity again, but it's an opportunity. Just take it and go with it. And I did. And she was right. It really was incredible. It was quite an intense place. Definitely a notch up from anywhere that I'd worked so far. To sort of throw into a really big hotel. There was 5 restaurants, I think, within the hotel. In my kitchen, there was 17 chefs. It was a 7-day operation, obviously, but within that, there was 10 different nationalities. Just really, really quite different to what I'd experienced before, and it was fascinating, and I loved it. And I was just find it so interesting seeing all these different cultures and just all these different food styles. It was also hard because, communication. I mean, God, they spoke English, thank God, because, you know, we are the lazy people in that scenario. But things, but a lot of stuff definitely was lost in translation, and so it was hard. So many things went wrong just because of that. But and it was a really tough kitchen. Really quite quite macho. I think I was the only girl, and there was definitely a sort of slight attitude within that kitchen of, you know, you shout to get yourself heard kind of thing, and, you know, it's my way, it's done this way, and that's how it's done, and if you've done something wrong, then you get yelled at, that next thing. So it was quite a tough environment, but I'm quite stubborn, so I was quite determined to succeed. and prove to myself and to others that I would manage to do this and I would get out the other side. But the food that we were doing was incredible. It really was. And I was learning a lot. And I was, even in amongst that quite sometimes negative environment, I definitely was learning a lot, and I really felt like I was progressing a lot. So in some ways, at that moment in time in my life, I think there was things that were balancing the good and the bad, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think you would have felt the same if you were in an environment where perhaps you weren't learning and you weren't getting an opportunity to be as creative?
Yeah, for sure. I say that, oh yeah, for sure. But I think there has been this one thing that, which I think we will discuss later, is like I've worked in quite a lot of kitchens that are maybe do have that negative energy and were very shouty. And because that was all I saw for years and years and years, you then think that's normal, or this is how it is, and you just have to get on with it. And I'm wrong to question it, if that makes sense. It's if I'm not managing, then I'm the one with the problem, as opposed to the situation. But yeah, I've definitely learned a lot more since then.
I think you've just summarized, just going back to that, what you just said is, if I'm not managing here, then I'm the problem, which is how I spent my late 20s and early 30s. And admittedly, I was on the different side of hospitality. I was supplying and working with chefs and fantastic ingredients, but in my personal life, I was having exactly the same thoughts. And I just wonder how many people would resonate with that particular statement. Like, if I'm not coping in this harsh environment where perhaps I am getting verbal abuse and bullying or sexual harassment or whatever else it might be, then I'm the problem and it's my fault. Where in fact, actually, it's not, and you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's okay to not manage. It's not okay to not cope like that. That's where you need to sort that out. Or you need to sort it out, but that you need to change something. You need to remove yourself from that, or they need to change something to make sure that you are coping and you are happy. But no, for sure, it's not that I was at fault. And it's so interesting now looking back at that time, because I was in the lead up to doing this podcast, I was sort of, I was looking at my career and really starting to think back to that time. And I was remembering different stories and different scenarios. And I thought, oh my God, like I just would not put up with that. And I wouldn't do that to anyone either. And I think, why did I put up with it then? But it's very easy to sort of sit and reflect in that way, isn't it? And get it. Yeah. I know I would definitely not be doing any of that or be putting up with any of that now. But we are all in different places, and we're just, it's good. It's good that I'm in a different place now. So
hindsight's 2020. But again, going back to another point that you raised, is that in an environment like that where you're surrounded by it and you've been brought up in it, then you start to begin to think that is the norm. So again, and with certainly within the Burnt Chef Project, we're not here to blame. There's no blame culture. If someone was an arse in their career and they've ended up causing damage to the business or damage to individuals, and again, it's not to be excused. People don't know how to change and to be better. Then it's a real fine line to be able to sort of tread. But as you say, in your particular situation, you sort of that from experience and also I guess personality and the sort of person that you are, that's not the way that you wanted to go down. But yeah. So you're in a 7-star Dubai, working working in quite an eclectic kitchen from the sound of things. How long were you there for?
I was there for a year and a half, which it was. There was so much good to come out of it as well, because there was just they were an amazing group of people that were over there. Like so many friends that I made, and we were having such a good time. We were all away. Everyone was away from home essentially, and we're in this lovely hot country, cooking incredible food. And also, it was this crazy hotel where money wasn't a problem. The produce and the money that they were throwing at it was just insane. Kind of stuff that I'd never really seen before, and a budget that I'd never worked with before. So that was I mean, God, we were cooking for some incredible people as well, you know, some massive sort of A-listers, which was really exciting. And sort of these things that I don't think I'm going to see in my tiny little restaurant on Leith Walk in Edinburgh. Don't think Morgan Freeman's going to be coming in anytime soon. So that was incredible. And I had an amazing time, but it definitely wore me out. And I got really homesick. I hadn't really realized how homesick I was until I actually had to go home because my grandfather passed away. And so I came back for the funeral quickly. And when I was home, I think I spent a whole day just wandering around the city because it was really green and really just like refreshing and different. And the air was fresh. And it was all these like silly little things. But I was like, God, I really miss this actually. And so when I flew back out, I said, you know what, I've loved my time here, but I need to move home for a wee bit, or I just need to have a different change of scenery because having a bit of time away from it has made me realize maybe I'm not as happy as I thought I was, sort of thing. And so yes, I had my notice in and I moved back to Edinburgh. When I came back, I had ideas. I kind of got that traveling bug a little bit, and I really wanted to go off and maybe go and try it somewhere else. And so I got a job in the interim, and an okay restaurant, but it was definitely a step back from what I'd been doing in Dubai. And so that was frustrating in itself because I knew that I was like, why have I taken this? This isn't the right direction. And circumstances changed and I decided to stay in Edinburgh. So I didn't stay very long at that job. And that was when I then went and knocked on Tom Kitchin's door and I went to the kitchen. And that again was another incredible eye-opening experience. You kind of hit the ground running every time you would go in there. It was a very busy, fast, intense environment. And when I started, I think after my first week, I just felt like I was literally going back to the start. I felt like, what have I been doing? What have I been doing for the last sort of 5-6 years? I feel like I knew nothing. In a like kind of a sort of negative but also positive way, where he'd really just, the way that he approached things and his love and passion for food was so intense, but also incredible, like really, again, sorry, struggling for words, infectious, really, really infectious. And I'd never really experienced that before. And so, yeah, I felt like I knew nothing, but also I was really excited about what I was going to get taught in this kitchen, because this is where I wanted to be. This is where I wanted the level of what I want to be learning. And it was, I think that there is a difference going into a restaurant where the chef is the owner. Not necessarily always, but I think there is a real, I mean, he's a very driven man. He just has so much passion and respect. Like I've never really experienced the amount of love and respect that he gives every single item, be it a vegetable, a bit of fish, an animal, whatever. He teaches really well, and it was eye-opening, and I was really struggling. I'm not going to lie. Like I think as well as feeling, oh my God, I'm going back to the start. I know nothing. I really did have this feeling of I'm getting everything wrong. I'm doing really badly. And I was, questioning myself a lot. Am I ready for this or not ready for this? Or how am I not ready for this? Because I've been cooking for quite a few years now. How have I not managed to get to this stage already? And it was a bit of a roller coaster like that for the entire time. But I also, like I said earlier, I'm quite stubborn, quite determined. I was determined again to see it through and to get out and also just, I wanted to learn. I wanted to get as much as it from my own progression. I wanted to get out as much as I could out of it. But it was quite a harsh kitchen, and it was very negative at times. I mean, silly like things like we were, everything had to be done quickly, obviously, because you need to be efficient, and you need to just, if you finish earlier, then you get out the door earlier, so it's better. But things like we weren't allowed to speak when we were cleaning down, because we would be wasting time if we did that. Like silly, really, really stupid things like that. Yeah. If someone starts to chat, then it'd be like, you get the, what are you doing? Like, shut up kind of thing. A little bit intense. Not how I do things either. but it really was, it was an amazing experience. And I learned so much, and I have so much respect for Tom Kitchin and for everything that he's taught me and shown me. And he let me, try out things, explore. I got to move around the whole kitchen, and he gave me his time and his some of his patience. And no, he really did teach me so much. But I was there for 3.5 years. And again, I was pretty worn out by the end of it. And we sort of had a conversation and said, I think I'm ready to move on and go and do something else. Like, I think I need something fresh and new and different, just to kind of inject the kind of, just that buzz back in again. And and prior to me finishing up, about a year prior to, in my last year, a chef named Dominic Jack, who was one of Tom Kitchin's very good friends, had joined the team, and basically because they were going to open up another restaurant together, and Dom was going to be the chef proprietor, and they were looking for the right site, and it took, as they do, as I know myself, it takes a long time sometimes. Yeah. And so he was with us for that last year, and yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, he kind of took me under his wing a little bit, and he very much was each day coming over to me and showing me lots of stuff on whatever section it was I was working on. And they're really good friends, and they're quite interesting because they've worked together. I mean, to maybe explain a little bit about Dominic's background, he worked in Paris for 8 years in sort of 2 and 3 Michelin star restaurants, at a very, very high level himself. He was sous chef, I think, at Taïwan, which was 3 stars at the time. He was there for 4 years. He had an amazing background, amazing pedigree, and yeah, but they were friends. Sorry, I'm going off on tangents here, but they were really good friends at one point of their careers. They worked together at one point in their careers, but they'd gone off and done their own things. And in those times, they'd both seen completely different things. So their styles were really, really different. Their principles were the same, but their styles were really different. And when I said I'm going to leave, Dom said to me, "Yeah, great. I think you do need to have like a new chapter, but I would like you to come up to the restaurant that I'm about to open up. It's still in Edinburgh, but and I would like you to be my sous chef." And in my head, I thought I was wanting to leave Edinburgh and just get completely, fresh start. But then I went and saw the restaurant, and it was incredible, and I thought, this is too good an opportunity to pass up again. Because it really was an amazing setup. Everything, like the kitchen was quite a small restaurant at the time, and it was a bit of a battle every day just to kind of just get everything in, and I just sort of knew how much we could do at what became Castle Terrace. I knew how good it could be, and I knew obviously under his direction as well, the restaurant could just go on to incredible things. So I thought, you know what, let's do this. This is too good to pass up. So I went and I did an opening, which is also really interesting, good to learn. And we opened up Castle Terrace. I mean, that I stayed at Castle Terrace for 6 years, and I would now very much classify Dom was my mentor. Such an important person in my life, and something that I wouldn't change for anything. To say that it was an easy ride is definitely very far from the truth. It was another roller coaster. It was intense in a completely different way to how the kitchen was intense, because they're 2 very different chefs. But it was it was a restaurant that, when it opened, it had the kind of the kitchen name attached to it. So it already had this slight establishment and name to it. So there was a lot of expectation and a lot of pressure. But, and we absolutely hit the ground flying. I think this is back when rising stars were still a thing. And I think within 4 months, we got a rising star. And then the Michelin guide changed when they were bringing the guide out. And so, which was really lucky for us, actually, because we didn't have to wait a year. We only had to wait 6 months, and we actually got the star 6 months later. And I mean, there is no better, I think, better accomplishment in any chef's career than being awarded a Michelin star. It is our highest recognized award. And wow, what an amazing feeling. The food that we were doing was really different to what I had been learning at the kitchen. The way that his mind works is it's quite interesting. He really does like sort of move food around and do it in different ways. And it was just, again, I was feeling fulfilled and feeling, under a lot of pressure, but feeling really, really happy with where I was in my job. And it was a very challenging kitchen. I'd sort of gone from being not having that role at the kitchen. I'd maybe been slightly running things a wee bit, but not ever really properly doing it, to suddenly being a sous chef in charge of 7 or 8 different, maybe 10 different people, a lot of whom spoke French, and I don't speak French. And found that quite challenging because they would all speak French to each other, and that scenario, which was quite tough. But and definitely really, really struggled at times. But being my determined, stubborn self was, no, I'm just going to grin and bear this and not speak to anyone about it, I need to learn French. I need to do better. I need to learn, just be better at all that I can do. And it was just trying to think, like, how did 6 years go by? To kind of shorten this situation. I mean, another really great thing actually of what came of working at Castle Terrace was actually I met my now husband. He joined the team. He does front of house, so, and he did eventually actually become the restaurant manager. He joined as a chef de rang, but he worked his way up to restaurant manager. And I think maybe 2 years prior to me leaving, we'd started talking about, should we leave? Should we go off and do something else? And I was always a bit scared, I think, because I was in many ways, even though each day was a challenge, I was quite comfortable. I was at home, I was surrounded by my friends, my family. It was a good job. It was still challenging me. We were doing great food. But then I was definitely getting to that point where I was like, no, do you know what? I'm ready to leave. And as was he. And we did eventually, we wanted to open up our own restaurant together, but we knew that we weren't ready to do it at that point. So we had that day where we told chef that we were both going to be handing our notice in, his head chef and his restaurant manager. Not the best conversation to have. Ouch. But yeah, but he did take it. He was so fantastic, actually. He took it so well and said, of course I give you my blessing. You both have given me so much. I want you to go off and you need to go off and do your next sort of chapter in your lives. And what we did actually go and do was a little bit, not exactly controversial, but maybe I think a few people were surprised and thought maybe it was the wrong move for us. But we went down to Cambridgeshire and took over running a pub and restaurant with rooms.
Right. Okay.
I know. Yeah, you see you in your face. You're like, why did you do that?
Different again.
Yeah. I mean, the main idea, what we knew we wanted to own our own business. But working for the kitchen group, he was running a restaurant, I was running a kitchen, but there was an HR department that dealt with all the staff, all the wages, all that stuff that we knew we would need to do ourselves when we set up on our own. And we really wanted to get a first-hand experience at doing that before we took the plunge ourselves and sort of invested all of our own money into it. And this opportunity came up. It was one of those just funny ones that it just came across, and we sort of thought, they were looking for a husband and wife team to run a pub and restaurant. The rooms were obviously a bit of an add-on, not quite on the radar, but it was also a good experience to have, because I think we have had that conversation of, maybe we could open up something in the countryside. After the experience, I really don't want to open up a place in the countryside. Even though my husband does sometimes still say, maybe we should buy it. I'm like, no, do you not remember? Like, no. Which is making me sound like it was a terrible experience. It really wasn't. It was really different. it was very much a shock to the system. And I definitely had many moments of, oh my God, what have I done? But I also look back and know that it was the right move for us. And it was a very big turning point for me, I think, to explain that a bit more. So we went down, and the pub itself and the restaurant, it was quite a lot more covered than what we ever had done before. Obviously you've got the addition of there was 5 rooms. And it was in this tiny little village called Abbotsford, which had 200 people in it. And it was near to other bigger towns, but the village itself was very, very small. And the pub was, it was the heart of the village.
Community.
And it was just like, oh, it's so interesting. Like, everyone always says village life is different. It really, really is. But it's lovely. Everyone knows your business, but it's lovely to be a part of.
Yeah, I know that one. I know that one very well.
Yeah. Literally go to the post office and you get all the gossip. And lost my train of thought there. So we went down to the pub, and the pub was a successful pub, which I think in some ways is quite tricky. It's harder to go into a successful business to take over the reins than it is to go into a place that's perhaps not doing so well.
Yeah, you've got to uphold the reputation that's already been built with your style as well. Like, totally,
and not piss anyone off, in the process. I think we did do that a little bit, but so we went in, and I slowly started to change the menu to make it more my food. I mean, I was still trying to really find what my style of food was. I'd always worked for other people doing their food, so I still myself didn't know what sort of food I wanted to do, and so that in itself was a good learning curve for me. Because I was definitely doing a lot of food that was very Castle Terrace-esque, but pub down, yeah.
I was going to say, when people are eating foie gras and balsamic pearls with their pint of bitter.
Yeah, you got your fish pie and then you've got the foie gras. It was an interesting balance. But yeah, so no, I started to slowly change the menu, put my own dishes on, and we were starting to find our feet. And we took on the team that was existing, which again was really, really tough, because a lot of them have been there for a really long time and worked in a certain way. And we definitely lost a lot of staff when we first took over. And then getting staff in the countryside is quite challenging, and was the hardest part of running there. I mean, we'd gone from a city centre where you really do get a sort of influx of CVs to nothing coming through the door, and the sort of average age of the front of house staff, because there were so many of them, because they just had all these part-timers, was like 17, because they were all at uni or they're still at school, and they just worked there, and and they would kind of just slot in the days. And I mean, I don't know, and sometimes I think Sean, sorry, that's my husband, I think he had a harder time than I did with all the teenagers, but it was a challenge, and we but I think we did the best that we could with it. It was still a really good experience for us. We very much learned how to run a business, and also learned, like I said, it was a turning point for me, learned how to start managing people better. Because I think in those previous jobs I had had, as much as I think this kind of goes sort of clashes with what we really touched on at the start of our chat, when you said you can't blame people perhaps for if they were a bit of an arsehole, because it might have been all that they knew. I think that's kind of what you said, is that right? Kind of not you can't blame, but you can't.
It comes up quite a bit at the moment, actually, because there may be periods where we'll speak to someone, and someone who's worked underneath them has ended up experiencing a mental health issue as a result of under that leadership. And there are people out there who are just sort of bad people, and that's life, and we come across those people, and unfortunately we all have different resilience and tolerances to those individuals. But I think also in kitchen environments specifically, I think that when your mentor is you know, a chef from 20 years ago who got taught the way that he did 20 years beforehand, and that's the only way. Because what we have got to acknowledge in this industry is we don't ever learn how to manage people. You're never taught, are you? Like, you're great at sauce section, you're great on the pass, congratulations, you're sous chef. Now here's 7 people that you have to manage effectively so that the kitchen works. And you're like, well, Christ, how do I do this? I know, well, I haven't been taught effective communication or neuro-linguistic programming or active listening or anything like that. It's a case of, well, I'll default to what I know, which is if I bark loudly, people will listen, and, you know, irrespective, it gets the job done, and that's the main thing. So yeah, it's a big issue, skill gap shortage. But sorry, carry on. It's something I feel quite strongly about.
Yeah, no, and it's honestly, it's that all of that has played such a massive part of my life and my career, and it was all that I knew, and I hadn't ever gotten training as to how to manage people. And suddenly I was in this kitchen with not that many chefs anyway, and you know, something was going wrong, and so I shouted, because that's what I've done in previous jobs, because that was what was, maybe to say that was what was expected of me is the wrong thing to say.
That's how you learn. That's how.
Yeah. So it was all that I knew, and you know, there was one scenario where I think I probably shouted at somebody, and then they handed notes in the day, and I remember sitting after service myself in tears, because I think we were about to start, we were about to go into Christmas sort of period, festive period, and we were going to be going from being open 6 days to 7 days a week, and it was a big place, and there was so many bookings, and I knew just how busy we were going to be, and I thought, how am I going to do this? How physically am I actually going to be able to do this? And you know, like, so me and my husband, we actually, I mean, God, Sean was in the kitchen with me after we finished service, doing prep with me, just to get the stuff done for the next day. We were working 7 days a week, and we worked till sort of like 7 in the morning to 2 in the morning. I mean, he falls asleep standing up. It's quite hilarious to watch, but he would be like doing chocolate pots, like falling asleep, like filling these chocolate pots. And I mean, he has that problem regardless of how many hours he slept or not slept. But I mean, we became, it kind of really cemented our relationship, actually. It was great for sort of learning that. We knew that we could be in the hardest, toughest situation together and still be there for one another. So it really cemented us opening up our own restaurant together. But it was this kind of manic, why are we working like animals? Why are we working ourselves to the bone? And, you know, because of what was, you know, because we didn't want to fail ourselves, and we didn't want to let ourselves down. And also we had X amount of guests coming in the next day. We needed to make sure there was food for them. And I didn't have the team or the structure around me. And so we were putting everything in, and it was, I mean, I look back at, I think it was something like we worked straight for about 40 days over that festive period. And fortunately, the whole business was closed for 2 weeks in January. So we did get that, but it was hell. It really was hell. And it really was a massive turning point of, right, we need to look at how we are treating staff in order to be able to get them, keep them, and get the best out of them. And I think after that January, we then started to manage to pull together like a good team, people that cared about food and that wanted to be there and liked the environment that we were doing. And sorry, it's not even the proper sentence. Like the environment that we had, and liked learning from us, and things definitely got a lot better.
What sort of things did you think, like, from that moment of acknowledgement of like, okay, we're actually working our asses off here, and we're working harder and not smarter? What sort of main changes did you make in terms of you know, how you structured your teams, how you dealt with your teams, how you employed or hired? Like, what were the main things that stood out for you?
The main thing being I stopped shouting. I made the environment a lot, because I mean with shouting there's suddenly there's a tension, and it's not just at that person that you're perhaps angry at, it's the whole team. And so as soon as you change that atmosphere, everyone suddenly is on a nice edge, so just introducing a much more, I think, relaxed environment makes a huge difference. I'm not saying that it was like a overnight thing for me or for my husband. It definitely, and even to like today, we're still looking at and trying to work out how we can be better. And we definitely have I think there was little bits that we did whilst we were down there, or that I did whilst I was down there. But there was, once we left the Abbot's Elm, I had more experiences, which again were like hitting home about how I really needed to change how because I don't think I am a bad person. I think I'm quite a nice person. And I do think it was to do with like what we discussed, all that I knew in kitchens was this way of, and I was like, right, no, I need to change this. So, and maybe just to kind of to go on to the experiences that I've had once we stayed there for a year. It was, like I say, it was good. It definitely opened our eyes up to a lot of things with management. But we ultimately knew that it still wasn't the right feel and the right fit for us. And we really wanted to open up our own restaurant and do our own thing. And so we moved back up to Edinburgh after a year. I will be able to go into more about how I definitely changed things and changed myself. I think with more of the experiences that I had after leaving there. But that for me, that was like this kind of the starting point. After we did leave Cambridge, we came back up to Edinburgh and was starting to look for premises for our own restaurant. And obviously I needed to work because we were constantly saving money and needed to pay our bills, obviously. But I didn't want to take on a job where as soon as I found that site, I would be sorry, I need to leave. I wanted to make sure that I was really, really honest with whoever I was taking a job with. And I didn't want to be working 8 hours a week in a restaurant somewhere and nights. And so I took the opportunity to do something slightly different. And to this day, I think it's possibly one of the best decisions that I've made in my career. And I went and worked in a bakery. And because I'd never really, everywhere I'd worked, we'd always bought the bread in, generally.
No.
Yeah. No. Apart from the Abbot's Elm. No, but like good, working with local bakeries to buy good bread.
Yeah, no, of course, but like
maybe edit that bit out.
The purists out there are going, no.
Oh God, what have I said? Yeah, no. We bought in good bread. Sorry, we did make our own bread at Abbot's Elm, but it was it wasn't. I was wanting to learn how to do sourdough. Basically, I went and worked in a sourdough bakery, and it was, God, it was so refreshing. Learning something completely different that I'd never done before, but B, working in an environment where everyone that was going in was really happy, and it was really positive. And
even at 3 o'clock in the morning.
No, it was a funny bakery where you had night bakers and day bakers. I generally just did the day. So I did the night sometimes, and they were really, really hard.
They one day everyone was happy. They're getting to bake during the day.
Yeah. They had a team that literally went in and made the bread all day, and then because it's sourdough, it has a really long fermentation period, so it would then get baked at nighttime for the next following day. But no, even I don't know, I found it so rewarding, even doing those night shifts, seeing all that amazing bread coming out the oven. Oh, nothing like that. And it was just such a joy working in an environment that was fun. Like, you could go to work make something that's really, really premium product, so much love and attention, so much, like everyone that was there loved what they were doing, had drive, had passion for what they were doing. But we could also have, and I'm not saying I didn't have fun in any of my jobs, I have had a lot of fun in all of my jobs, but there was just always like quite a lot of stress and pressure. And of course there was still, everything still needed to be good and be on point. But it really was, it was exactly what I needed, I think, at that point in my life as well. I needed to see this different dynamic, and I needed that sort of time as well, where I could reflect and just get a bit of downtime and just look at what I've kind of done so far in my career. And it was a really, really good time for me.
Must have been quite strange, bearing in mind from 16 all you'd known was that kitchen environment, where it was quite, certainly some of the environments you were in, it was quite strict and quite militant in the way it runs, to suddenly walk into a bakery where there's flour being chucked around and everyone's sort of that pressure of that pressure of service doesn't exist, and that pressure of expectations, and whilst there is a reputation to uphold, if you do a bad batch of bread, you know about it, whereas if you do a bad service, then you really know about it. It's a whole different situation. So it must have been quite scary, I guess, in one way, because you're walking into what you expect to be a pressure cooker, and it turns out to be like a warm, bubbly bath.
Yeah, exactly. It was really shocking almost. I remember going in just being really nervous, because I think the two women that own the business, they sort of knew of me within Edinburgh, because Edinburgh's tiny and everyone knows everybody. And I think they had these like high expectations of, oh, she's from, she's to work at Kitchen, she's from Castle Terrace. I'd literally never made bread before, so I didn't have a clue as to what I was doing. And so I was really quite nervous going in. But then was like just welcomed in with open arms, and it was just incredible. Sorry, I can hear noises. And I sort of thought, all right, this is how the bakery world is, and still sort of, still separating the two. I wasn't looking at that point, wasn't quite looking at as, how can I really take what's here and make it like that in a restaurant kitchen? Because you're right, there isn't that pressure of, I need to be ready for service, because that is the biggest pressure. Which I'm quite, Christ, I've not done a service since October, so I'm quite worried about when I reopen the restaurant in June. I am scared. But yeah, no, I was still in many ways, I was still separating the two a little bit. And was just really, really enjoying this time and this new skill. But then as I was getting closer to, we found a site and we started doing work on it and whatnot. And as I was getting closer to opening the restaurant, I was thinking, I don't want to go back to where I was personally, because when I get upset, if something's gone wrong, I might, knee-jerk reaction is to shout at somebody, and they feel like crap. I feel like crap because I'm annoyed, and I kind of get more worked up and irritated, and I then kind of start, it's a bit of a knock-on effect. I start to do things wrong as well, or I'll just start thrashing things around, and I didn't want to be like that because I'd really enjoyed this time, and I was like, I don't want to be that person. I want to be better, and be better for myself, but also for the people around me. And so I was very determined to start applying that to the environment and being better when I opened up the restaurant. Just to make, the restaurant itself, it's tiny as well. The kitchen's very much in the room, so if there was any bad tension or atmosphere in the kitchen, all the diners were going to experience that as well, which that's not a good night out. That's a really crap experience. So that was very, very key as well, for when we did open up the restaurant. And that kind of just takes me to where I guess in many ways where I am now. I have my own restaurant now. And it's tiny. It's got a very, very small team. We're three chefs. And my husband does front of house. And he also, I mean, where it was 3 years ago when we opened it to where it is now is very different. Which I guess, if you're happy, I can start talking about that, because it kind of is a fairly organic kind of conversation, if that works for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to learn sort of like from your experiences what you've been through and the things that you've learned and that impact that it's had on you over this period of time, to how you've implemented some of the things that you've learned, some of the things that you didn't want to do into your business, and then what you've changed since becoming a business owner. What sort of things have you learned about yourself and people around you, really?
Yeah. I mean, when the restaurant's tiny, and when we opened it up, we really wanted the environment to be sort of like you're coming around to our house for dinner. Really relaxed, really friendly, really like obviously delicious food, tasty food, but just a really nice, great experience. And we wanted to obviously just open up a restaurant that we loved being at and that we enjoyed working in, and wanted our team to be happy coming into work every day and not dreading the day ahead. And in order to do that, we needed to change ourselves and be ourselves, more relaxed, more like, right, how are we going to, right, something's gone wrong, rather than shoving down someone's throat. Let's just discuss what's happened and let's work out the way that we can fix it. Things are always going to go wrong. That's just nature. But there's always ways of fixing things as well. And you don't, at the end of the day, it's a plate of food. People, of course, designers coming in, they're spending money, they've got expectations, but at the end of the day, all we're dealing with is food, and we're putting food on plates, and we're doing that basic thing of eating. And I don't think there needs to be this insane pressure that does get put on us. Obviously, I want everything to go out the kitchen to be perfect. And if it isn't perfect, then it doesn't go out. But it's not a case of the pan gets thrown back, sort that out. It's right, this has been overcooked, or this isn't quite cooked enough. You need to do it a little bit more. And it's about training, and it's about speaking to people just like normal people. And that was all the things that I started to definitely do. I definitely have my moments where I would slip back in when, the pressure does get too much, and I'd slip back into that person, and my emotions would get the better of me, and I would not shout, but I'd get really, I almost let it build up inside me, and then be like, right, no, this, I've had those moments, but I now like sit back and look at the first year of the restaurant opening and do cringe at some of the things I was still doing, and I think, Christ, I thought I'd move, I thought I'd come a long way, but there's so much way for me to be better and to grow, and and just make, and I am now doing, I think, a lot more things that are better for the restaurant and for our team, and where we are with the restaurant and the people that we have around us is just, they're so incredible, and they're so talented, and we're so lucky. And I feel very blessed to have the structure that we've got right now. Where we are with the restaurant is just, considering the last year that we've had as well. It's been a really trying year for not just our industry, everyone's industry. But especially, I think, so many industries, but yes, ours. Just being a business owner and being an employee, it's been a really, really tough year. But I'm really proud of where we are right now. And I'm feeling really excited and happy about the year ahead. I'm feeling really hopeful as well. I don't know if it's pessimistic, but I'm really hopeful about the year ahead.
I think we're going to be in for a good season, especially with internal or domestic tourism as well, being what it is because of bans and various other regulations the government have put in place. I mean, I think that with that, I think that the business owners who are perhaps looking at how they're going to mitigate that increase in business compared to previous years and the impact that it's going to have on the staff, I think are going to be the ones that are leading the way, and perhaps having a more sustainable business model moving forward. Because one thing that we've learned from the Help Out Eat Out scheme, and then also from some of the early people who have come back into trading currently with the outside dining, etc., is that all of a sudden you've got these people who aren't used to working, these professionals who aren't used to working in a busy environment like this for a year, suddenly going back into it. Like, we're all trying to make money, we're all trying to make sure that we can start to pay off the debts that COVID's introduced. But also at the same time, we've got to remember that the resilience of our staff and the way that they're working and how they're feeling at this moment in time is perhaps not where it should be. So it might just be like a case of making adjustments, like not putting so many tables on, if there is seating. And it's it's a tricky one, because it's not something that any of us have had to face before. But it's a fine balance as well, isn't it, between earning money to be able to make sure that you can pay the bills versus not overdoing it so that you haven't got a team to move forward with moving forward.
No, exactly. And I mean, I'm sure that you've probably been told this, and so many people, I've had so many conversations with people, but I think that this pandemic has really made people look at their lives. And I think it's actually brought the topic of mental health to a much more focal point. And it's made myself and my husband, we have been working pretty much since the start. Fortunately, we're so lucky to have been able to keep things going. I think when we first got put into lockdown, everyone was quite scared. I mean, people are still scared, but I think it was so much more unknown way back at the start. Nobody knew what to do. You were just kind of doing what you were told. So we went home, had 3 weeks at home, and it was God, I hate to say it, but it was quite nice. It was like the first time that we'd really spent time where we weren't actually started talking about. I mean, obviously we should have been talking about the restaurant, but we weren't. And we just hung out with each other for like 3 weeks and cooked lots at home, which we don't do that much right now, because we're working all the time. Or we're not doing as much as we should. But that's something that we need to work on. No, we went home, had 3 weeks. And then the bakery, funnily enough, the bakery that I worked in, they contacted me because they had flipped things around and just like they became a sort of delivery at home business. And they were in such high demand. They were overwhelmed and they needed help. And so they phoned me up, said, can you cover stuff for somebody tomorrow? And I was thinking, God, yes, I'm starting to go a bit stir crazy here. So yeah, great. And so I went back to the bakery and I was helping out there. And it was so lovely to sort of just do that job again, because I hadn't done it in sort of 2 years. And then but during those 3 weeks, I was having so many conversations with my husband about, it's so nice to have this time. What we need to work on getting our work-life balance better, because we spend so much time at the restaurant. We were a five-day operation. On our days off, we would be there doing something. There would never be a day when you don't go into the restaurant. And we would talk about how many weddings and stag party, hen party, birthday parties, whatever things that we've missed over the years working in this industry, because of course you don't ask for that day off. It doesn't matter. It's your best friend for the last 20 years that's getting married. It's a Saturday, so of course you can't have it off because you're working. And we were talking about all of that, and we're like, but we own our business now. We can make the rules. We can do what we want. We can do whatever we want. Obviously, it still needs to be a viable business, but we wanted to get the business into a position where, if we wanted to, we could close the restaurant and we could go and have. We wanted to be able to go and do those things that we've missed out on so much growing up in our working in hospitality in our 20s. And that was a very topical sort of, or very poignant conversation, because when we did reopen the restaurant back in June or July last year, we went down to a 4-day week. So we went from doing 10 services a week down to doing 6 services a week. So we used to be open from Wednesday to Sunday, but then we changed it to Thursday to Sunday. and we stopped doing lunch on a Thursday and Friday, and and just did lunch on the Saturday, Sunday, and also used to do a brunch on the Sunday, but then changed that to lunch, doing lunch on the Sunday, and then the dinner service on the Sunday. And that was to make our life better, not just obviously the team, but also, you know, we didn't really want to be working five full days a week. And we wanted to make things better for them. The team's very much, we are one team, which we always wanted from the get-go as well. I didn't want to have like people coming in and out and handing over sections. I think you get a lot more continuity and structure and just better kind of control when you've literally got one team working one thing. And I think they know what we're doing. They know where all the food is at. They know what's in the fridges. And there's not that, oh, I wonder if such and such has left me. What am I coming into today? You know every day what you're coming into because you're all just one team, one part of it. So to be able to go down, we discussed it so much. Oh, it'd be great to get the restaurant down to a 4-day week. And it was like, right, we need to stop talking about this and we just need to do it. And it just felt like such a good move after, and maybe a crazy move, after being closed for 5 months to be, you know, chopping out 4 services. Obviously, there was going to be a financial implication, but, you know, we looked at the numbers, it worked, it would still work. And it just seemed like a no-brainer, really, because we didn't enter into this. We didn't open up a restaurant to become millionaires. And
to be honest,
no one really does. Yeah, but we didn't do it. We didn't do it to you know, try and make a little bit of money. We just wanted to open up somewhere that we would, if we were going out for dinner, we would want to go to that place. That's what we wanted to create, and we wanted to create something that we would be proud of and would enjoy going to every day, and a place where we could get people in and train them and educate them and give them a great working experience. And so yeah, it just felt like such a good move, and it has been one of the best. I mean, we've only been open for doing that for about 6 weeks, but in those 6 weeks it was great and it was working really well, and it was kind of one of those ones like, why didn't we do this from the off? But you know, I think you have to sometimes go through the process to work out what is best for you and what's worked best for everyone.
I think you just do it again, though. You're doing what the industry has always done. Sorry, I've just joined by a little furry friend on my lap. So,
hello.
My only companion that I see for 60 hours a week. But yeah, you're doing what you do because I think the industry as a whole is you can go away now. The industry as a whole is genuinely we just tend to do what we've been taught. But I think COVID has put us in a position where actually we're starting to look at things and go, why are we doing this? Like, why are we running a business like this, or why are we treating people like this, or whatever it might be? And I think it's actually forced us for the first time to sort of look backwards and look at the new way of doing things.
No, totally. I mean, I think it's had. I think what's been good is that I think everyone's really tried to take a lot of positives out of this really quite awful situation that we've all been in, and these being the positives. The thing that's a little bit scary now is that I do feel that so many people have looked at their life and have thought, you know what, no, I'm out, and we're now actually facing a bit of a crisis with trying to get staff, and it's a global crisis. I think, you know, I put an application out for a job for a chef back in at Christmas time last year, and I got quite a few applicants in, and then I've done another one recently, and I mean, it only takes that one right person, you know, of course, but it's just interesting seeing. I think I had about 10 applicants at Christmas time last year, and then this time round I got 3, and that's quite scary going forward. That is quite scary, but then is that also our fault because we've not changed things quickly enough in the industry to make it a better place that people want to work in? And I sort of feel like, oh God, you know, just give us time to make it better, and we can show and prove that it is a wonderful industry. And we always need to now encourage people that maybe have left this industry because they weren't happy in it to come back and give it another try, because I do think that things are changing and there is so much joy, and yeah, it's like, God, just give us a chance, sort of thing.
I think so. I mean, we're just about to publish a survey to do with really why people have left the industry, or if they're in the industry, what changes would they like to see, and if they have left the industry, what would provide them with the platform so they can come back. So we're about to publish that very shortly, and hopefully, if we get a couple of thousand people fill that out, it will give us some valuable insight, because it might be that people want a better work-life balance. It might be that they want more money. It might be that they just want to be listened to or feel that they're part of a culture, and actually they're happy to work 60, 70 hours a week and get paid what they get paid, and I think it'd be nice to actually put a finger on it and say, right, this is the percentage of people that we're getting looking for this particular thing. And then businesses can start to then go, well, actually, as come and work for us because we offer you that 4-3 working week, and then we offer you an opportunity where your voice is heard and you're celebrated as an individual. All of a sudden people go, great, I can continue my career in food and like my passion and my creativity without feeling like the industry owns me. Yeah, no, that's great. So happy that you're doing that. Great. well, yeah, really good. Let's see how it goes. Looking forward to reading it as well. Yeah, no, of course. But I think it's really important, and I think people want to know that they've got a voice as well, that they can be heard, and that we are listening. I guess if you talk about a few of the changes, like the more bigger changes that I've made with myself and with the running of the restaurant is, which is something that I don't feel that I ever got when I was sort of working my way up through the ranks, was when we, every week, I mean, right now we're doing finish at home meals. So there's a new menu each week for the dinner that we send out. And in normal times, I change the menu probably about every sort of 4 to 5 weeks. But we all sit down together, and I said prior to that, right, menu needs to change next week. We're going to sit down on Sunday once we've finished the day. We're going to talk about that menu. Bring me ideas. I want your input. And we all sit down together, and an idea just could just be a protein, or it could be a garnish. And then someone else will maybe say, like, oh, maybe we could do this with it, and the dishes will all get worked on together. My sort of experience in kitchens has always been like the head chef writes the menu, and then they tell everybody what it is, and you get shown how to make it. And I didn't really start creating my own menus until I was really when I was working at that pub down in Cambridgeshire, and I have definitely suffered because of that, because I've not because I've not been creative, sorry, that's not the right way of saying it, but I've struggled to come up with ideas because I've not been practicing it, if that makes sense. Because I've not been in the motion of doing it, and it's taken me, for me, it doesn't come as quickly and as naturally as perhaps it does to other people. And I need to, I need time to really sort of like piece a dish together. And I just believe that if you're encouraged to do it from a point in your career where maybe you wouldn't normally be putting dishes on a menu, it can only make it can only like sort of, train you and get you knowledge as to how a dish should be built and be balanced. And, just talking about it every single week, I think is going to make them better for when they're properly doing it at that point in their later on in their career. And also just, I think, sorry. I was just going to say, it's neuroplasticity, which is basically it's science. Your brain actually changes and modifies, and when you start using it in different ways. And so if you start being creative and practicing that as a skill set, then your brain actually starts to connect pathways together so that it's easier in future. So you're totally right. If you do provide someone with that platform, this is going to take some editing. If you do provide people with that experience so that they can start to learn and develop, then ultimately it means that they're going to be a lot more proficient at it when the time comes around.
Yeah. And I also do believe that making them feel involved is just making, I think and getting that input on the menu just changes their, I think, feel for the food that is suddenly, they'll be plating up that dish maybe the following week and think, oh, this was my idea. Like, and there's, I'm sure that there'll be a rewarding sort of happy feeling from knowing that you've had a little bit of input to this dish. Because that's what we do. We're there to cook food and create food and be creative. And there's no attitude in my kitchen, and everyone has a voice. And God, I don't know everything about food. Of course I don't. I find it so interesting letting my chefs talk to me about food, because they've had such different experiences and have cooked different food. And we can only make the food that we're doing better by collaborating together. And that's where I want to learn as well. Like I'm not just stopping because I've got my own kitchen, my own restaurant now. I want to continue and be the best that I can be and do the best food that I can do. So it's really, really important that we all sit down and chat. And I mean, sometimes it takes hours. We'll be there for like 2 or 3 hours just discussing dishes. But it's also really, really fun and really exciting as well. And what could be chatted at the start, by the end of the chat is, could be a completely different dish as to what the idea was at the beginning. But it's that kind of just going through that process. It's just great. It's really, really good.
Collaborative effort. And it's something that I heard there's a company I'm working with the other day, so they don't refer to their staff as staff. They call them team members, or or whatever name you have for it, because again, it's a team effort, and the more that you guys can work together, the more proficient you're going to be, and the more people feel valued as well. It all comes back to feeling valued and feeling like you're part of something. It's important. Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah. I mean, I've got so many sort of like memories of different times when I've personally felt so undervalued, and I've been made to feel so small and so little and idiot, like I'm an idiot and I'm stupid from things that I've done, like if I've made a mistake, or if just not knowing something that was perhaps basic to them, but not necessarily basic to myself. And I think just going, because what you said, making sure that people feel valued, it's so important. I think a really good, this is maybe slightly going off track, but I think a really good sort of example of, you say that I have had a situation or experience that didn't go as planned. And any lessons that I learned from it. And this is kind of it touches on being valued and whatnot. I remember when I was working in Dubai, I'd done something wrong and made a mistake with something, and basically got told by my chef's party, right, you've messed this up, so you're going to stay after work and you're going to fix it. And I think we finished working at like midnight. And then so I was there by myself because everyone else had gone home, and trying to sort this problem out. And I think I finished at like 2:00 in the morning or something. And because I was so tired at that moment in time anyway, because we worked 6 days a week actually in Dubai, which was interesting in itself. I was so tired that I actually did the thing that I was trying to fix. I did it wrong because I was just not thinking about what I was doing. And I was working the next day, but whatever, I can't remember what it was I was prepping, but it didn't actually get used until that evening. But I was on a day shift the next day, so I'd gone home and I was just like literally just started to relax, on the balcony, perhaps got a drink in hand kind of thing. And my phone rings, and I was like, oh, it's my chef's party phone me, and I answer it hesitantly, and all I get is, all right, well done, Roberta. You managed to mess up this even further. Thanks very much. Now we're completely in shit. And then just hung up. Like I didn't even get like a word in edgeways. And it was just that, oh God. And then that entire night stroke, the probably next week, was me then feeling horrendous, low, just like I'm used, like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Like, how have I done this? They must just think I'm so bad at my job, just all these different things, but also just, oh God, it's so frustrating when I look back at it. And And that's one thing that I would never do that to anybody anyway. I'd never belittle somebody that much. But I mean, like I said, we have a 4-day operation. I don't contact my staff on their days off. I mean, there's occasional times when we have to with regards to orders, whatever. But I very much leave them be. It's their time to be away from the restaurant and to not have anything to do with us and what we do. But I would never. I mean, I would never, even back then, I would never phone somebody up and give them a balking as to when they've done something wrong on their day when they've got their time out. But
I mean, at the end of the day, they're human beings. They have their own life, and work isn't the be all and end all of life. Let's break it down. We have to work so that we can earn money to pay for our bills, and that's only because society just demanded it. Like, I think sometimes that there are purists out there who will listen to this and disagree, but I think that we sometimes forget that actually, yes, we have our passion and our pride and our creativity and everything we need to make this great industry go around, but also at the same time, it is just a job. Like, we're human beings at the end of the day. The idea is to survive and to live and to experience new things. It's not to get shit on your day off because of a mistake. It's not like you intentionally gone out to sabotage the business.
No.
It's just the way it is. So
and then like another kind of like really clarifying moment was, I mean, you're going to be like, God, she really loves this bakery. But when I was working at the bakery,
I'm starting to think here that there's a business in it.
She's in the wrong career. Yeah, she should have been a baker. I couldn't just make bread every day. It was great, but it was a bit kind of repetitive. I had a situation where I had a kind of colossal fuck up, and I basically, a bit of miscommunication. So I was working with a baker, and we put some bread in a prover because it was really cold in the bakery. And it wasn't getting to the stage where we needed it before we put it in the retarders. And so we put it in the prover, and we normally just turn the prover off and leave. He thought I'd done it. I thought he'd turned it off. Neither of us turned it off. Basically, night baker came in to pretty much soup, and possibly one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my career, I think. And then the next day, obviously knock-on effect, night baker then had to start making all the doughs and make all this bread again. And it was a lot of bread. I mean, I'm talking about sort of like 300, 400 loaves. And maybe, about that, And I remember coming the next day and was just like, how come you're making bread? To the night baker that was still there. Oh, well, you guys didn't turn on the bread. Okay. Knock-on effect really affected the whole day, because obviously we then had to make more bread and we had to bake it all off. I think I then delivered it to everyone, and then finally got back into the bakery to start making all the bread for the next day. And I remember messaging the owners just being like, I'm so sorry. This is, I don't normally make as big mistakes as this, and I can't even begin to tell you how much. I'm really disappointed in myself, and I felt like crap. I felt it's not just it's affected the businesses, it's affected the whole team. And I was really disappointed in myself, because how have I made this massive mistake? And the response was just so lovely. It was just like, don't worry about it. You went above and beyond to fix the situation. Everything's fine. Don't stress about it. And I mean, I'm never, ever going to make that mistake ever again. I've very much learned from it. But it was so refreshing to get such a positive response to something that could have, that when I beat myself up for the tiniest things before and like stressed about something for weeks from what was a tiny mistake to really quite a big mistake that did have a knock-on effect. And I didn't dwell on it. Obviously, I was still annoyed at myself, but I didn't feel like rock bottom and in that dark place for weeks. Which because I've definitely we've all been there. Well,
You were given permission,
and so that was really sorry.
You were given permission not to feel bad.
Yeah,
and that's important.
That was a really, just a really interesting sort of moment for me as well. And that was kind of how it always was. Like when things went wrong in the bakery, it was it's okay, we can fix this attitude. And I was like, that's really great, and that's how it should be.
Sounds like you've got a HR guide, and your HR guide is like, it's called The Bakery, in terms of like how we should be acting with our staff and with mistakes and with things, and it's the bakery method. We should do this, that, and the other. You should, like, you've got a couple of weeks just to get this written up and put into practice. And it's like, you know, if you made a mistake, forgive. It's okay. We'll sort it out as a team. Like, I think there can be at times, and it's certainly in our industry, accused of toxic negativity that tends to very much a blame culture. I've seen it many times. They were like, it wasn't my fault. They did it wrong. It's that person, or God, they, you know. And I think it's part of the environment that we work in, where it's just becomes, you know, quite negative. I think if you can really kick that and get that positivity running through the business, and you're well away. So to round this off, I mean, there's a couple of questions I usually ask towards the end of a conversation. I think you've experienced quite a lot in your life and your career. You've done a lot of things. You've been in a lot of different environments. What sort of advice would you give to someone who's looking to pursue a similar career path to your own?
I think get your basic training, like own your craft, and get a really good sort of understanding of what's involved with cooking, and then find a kitchen that feels right, that you fit into, that's ticking the boxes of what you want to get out of your career. And take the time to like take a step back and look at it. Don't get too bogged down in the day-to-day runnings of it, and like just take that moment to take a step back and be like, am I fulfilled? Is this the style that I want to know? Or, you know, just am I going into work every day and feeling happy and excited, and just all those sort of things. But also, like, be a sponge, like learn as much as you can, ask questions all the time, and write everything down. I didn't write things down enough in my younger years. I wish I'd done that. And I think just make sure that you're happy.
Yeah, that's a bit. No, it's a key thing. I think. If you are working and you feel like a slave to the trade, then perhaps there's other opportunities out there. And I think the thing is as well, we get so narrow focused, I think sometimes, not just in this industry, but in general, that sometimes we forget. I mean, certainly within this one, we're the third biggest industry in the world. You know, there's opportunities galore out there. So don't let one opportunity or lack of opportunity in one place think that there isn't something else out there, because there probably is, and it's probably right around the corner as well. You know, and it's businesses like yourself who have learnt the hard way through your own personal experience that do provide like a good employment opportunity for someone who's looking for something a little bit fresher and a little bit different, and an opportunity to be part of something that's perhaps not the norm for them.
Like a few other things that we're doing that we're introducing into the restaurant. I'm trying to find a fourth employ another person is because I want to have another we're down to a 4-day week, but I'm also looking to get someone else in, so that I'm making sure that everyone gets breaks in the afternoon, kind of thing. And like there's just that little bit of because we're a very tight small team, in that, you know, if someone's ill, then actually there's suddenly that person's off, and then there's suddenly so much pressure on the rest of the team to pick up the slack. That's where I don't want them to suddenly be under this extra pressure. And that's, really just trying to balance things out there. And another thing is we're now introducing, once you've been with us for a year, you'll get a week, if you want, you don't have to, to go and do a stage somewhere, but it's part of your working week. Like, it's because all the stages I ever did were organized in my holiday time, when you need that time to be resting, not going away somewhere else and working. You need that time out, and to recharge the batteries a little bit. So once you've been with us for a year, we can organize it, or for you. You can pick wherever you want to go, if it's in the UK or if it's beyond there. We'll do our best to try and get you into whatever restaurant you're interested in go and do a week at, and we'll give you money towards it to go towards your accommodation and any food and any travel and whatnot. And the idea behind it is, I loved going away and doing stages, so I find it really interesting just to broaden my knowledge of food and seeing different styles and different methods and whatnot. But I did have to do it in my own time, and we want to be able to allow people to do it in our time, if that makes sense. And just try and support you. Yeah.
It's a good thing that other industries could probably borrow from hospitality. There aren't any other industries that I know of that actually encourage you to go and work elsewhere to see what it's like and to get a feel, to broaden your horizons. I've never done it in any previous roles that I've been in, so I think it's a really good thing to encourage, because you're investing in that individual to learn and benefit potentially your business, or again, it's one person, if they do decide to leave and take on this new opportunity at somewhere that they've started, then they then have a good thing to say about your business, which helps, it just helps the world get around. It helps with recruitment. It helps with drive moving forward, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, that's the kind of thought process behind it all. And just,
great idea.
And you're right, like, it's so lovely that we're an industry that lets people over our doors and lets people come in and see what we're doing. And I think maybe 40 years ago, we weren't like that. Everything was a bit more sort of, no, you're not getting my recipe for this. But I think we're a much more open industry now, which is really, really lovely. And I've sort of had like an amazing last 2 years just doing Great British Menu has really opened up a lot of that. That the show is an interesting one. It's very there's obviously a lot of stress and pressure, but it's great that they really do pull people in from all over the country to not collaborate, but their kind of their angle is always work with each other, and just just meet people and connect. And I've really enjoyed that, actually. I kind of feel like I'm doing little mini stages whilst I'm also doing a quite stressful show. Seeing other people's food.
Can't even begin to imagine what it must be like. I've known quite a few people on there now, actually. It's sort of like, it's one thing cooking generally under pressure and producing something under pressure, but then having also to do it knowing that you're being watched, and the production teams and everything else that goes into it. It's sort
of literally my idea of hell, but yeah. But once I got past the whole camera scary thing, it was really good to do. So
good. And is there any final things that you perhaps would like for listeners to take away with them based on your experience, and any particular message?
Everyone's different. For me, I find it really important to get a bit of time out from every days off that I have. I have to have like a day where it's literally nothing to do with the restaurant, nothing to do with food, and something completely different. Go walking, go rock climbing. I'll meet up with friends that aren't in hospitality, and we'll talk about completely different things. I love this industry and I love talking about it. But I also do love having that little bit of escapism. And I think for my own mental health, I think it's really, really important for me, because I can't be immersed in it all the time, because it will consume me. So, and not in a good way. So I think that's really, but I could say I know everyone's different. But that's for me. So a little bit of time out it's always good. And yeah, just I guess, don't get bogged down by the small things, because they spiral out of control and can become massive things, and they're not important.
Zoom out.
Yeah.
Macro. Take a look at the. Yeah, I think I'm exactly the same. Sometimes you just do get bogged down, and you live, eat, and breathe it, and then all of a sudden the negativity becomes a massive. It impacts the little time you do have off. So I feel that one massively. Yeah, it's important just to switch off, take a break, and disconnect, because otherwise you're no good to yourself or anyone else.
No. I guess like one tiny other thing would be another thing that's different about. It kind of came hand in hand a little bit with the restaurant, but Well, no, it's to do with how we set it up and how we feel that it's really, really great for the team. Is that a lot of the chefs, they serve a lot of the food, and they talk to the customers, and they greet the customers, and they speak to them. And I think at first, when we like do interviews and stuff, we say, right, we do need you to be comfortable serving people and speaking to people. How do you feel about that? Because that's how we run the business. Like, that's how we want that friendly, relaxed atmosphere. But the guests really like speaking to the chefs. And I think at first, a lot of people, like chefs who've literally been kind of in that basement kitchen for the majority of their lives, who have never seen never had a window or something, are a bit like, oh God, I've got to talk to people, oh shit. But then it's easy. It's just a conversation. And it's so lovely seeing people going out and serving people, and them getting, they'll be clearing, and they'll have that first-hand feedback of, that was amazing, like, thank you so much. Did you make that? Like, that was incredible. And it's like, oh yeah, I did. Rather than it just being relayed back to you via a waitress or a waiter. To get that real kind of sincere, that was absolutely incredible, is just, I think there's a lot more job satisfaction in there as well. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It drives you in the right direction as well, because it's more tactical, haptic feedback. I think that's a great term. That's good information, and that's great suggestion as well. And I thank you very much for taking the time to come on and talk to me about your journey and everything that you've been through. And again, in the hope that we can try and inspire others to make changes, whether it is taking opportunities abroad in hot sunny countries and tough environments, or to grow and develop, or just to be able to perhaps be interested in learning from your experiences. So thank you very much for it. And I hope our paths cross again in the future. Yeah, well, if you're ever up in Edinburgh, then please come in. Come and see you. 100%. It's on one of my list of places that I need to visit, because I've not yet been. Very, very much so. So perhaps when the Fringe Festival is on, I'm going to try and get up and. Yeah, I mean, you're going to be incredibly busy that time of year, so you probably want to stop and say hi. Yeah, it's a funny time. I think we're doing a mini festival this year. Last year was weird with it not happening, but I think this year it's just going to be a little small one, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like. But normally, August is like this kind of stress head kind of for any chef in Edinburgh, because it's just insane. But it's also a really great festival, so do come up to it. Good. Well, Roberta, thank you ever so much, and it's been a pleasure talking. Thank you. I'll speak to you soon. Yeah, take care. Cheers. Bye. Bye. Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Burnt Chef Journal. If you haven't yet checked out the Burnt Chef Project website, then please head over to www.theburnchefproject.com. You'll find a whole host of resources, free access to our training app, as well as free support services, blog posts, our merchandise store, and also our ambassadors, who are there to support you when you need it. Thanks again for joining us this week, and I'll see you again soon.